Today's video dedication is for Whiskey Jack. Aragorn vs Elas with companion Lurrus, Saruman, and Thalia and the Gitrog monster. Decided to keep this hand because we've got 3 of our colours available, or 3 lands available. Some of these will be tricycle lands, and then a means of control as well if the game gets too far ahead of us. Alright, we draw into Mirari's Wake on turn 1, so yeah, go for a tricycle land here. First spell of the game comes from Saruman in the form of Thalia Rope, and then Elas is the first commander of the game. Okay, another land for us, so we're getting into all the Gruul stuff apparently. Yeah, we'll continue to fix our blue mana here, I think. Or do we just land Catilda here? Catilda's probably a better idea, so that, yeah, if I planned the turn out here, I would have gone for the Rootbound Crag, but we'll have to use the fetch to go for an untapped land here, because we can go for our commander next turn thanks to Catilda. Saruman throwing out a Barad-dûr now, and then activating the rope. Helm of Awakening now as well, so now I'd be tempted to go for Mirari's Wake over the commander. And Elas swings in towards Saruman. Boromir, Warden of the Tower, should protect our army once we get one going. But yeah, as of right now, I think I will go for Rootbound Crag and get down the Mirari's Wake here. Can at least test our opponents for some removal. Argument to be made for us playing this into our commander. We'd get a token and put a +4 buff on our commander, but I like the idea of having more mana than we need next turn. Thalia Rope being activated by the Abzan player, which means we gain control of it, and with that surplus mana likely be able to activate this next turn. And the Field of Ruin coming into play again after being bounced by the bounce land, and Inspiring Overseer for our opponent. And now seeing Saruman the White Hand enter play. Been intrigued to look at Grixis, Goblins and Orcs myself, but not sure what the popularity of this deck would be. Going for Rhystic Study after that, and that means he gets to amass an army, and that's a 3/3 Orc with Ward 2. Spirited Companion for Elas, casting Ghoulish Procession into the Rhystic Study as well. Alright, a Reflecting Pool now is good. We can make all of our colours with that, so throw down the Reflecting Pool. And we still have our double mana available, so we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 and 9 mana, which means we can go for our commander, pay the tax, and Beast Within onto the Rhystic Study. If our opponents aren't going to be paying for this, then it's probably a good idea to blow it up. So Rhystic Study triggers when we cast our commander, and we say yes to paying for that. And then, yeah, we've got the floating mana now, so we might as well just Beast Within on the Rhystic Study. +4/+4 goes onto our commander, not that it matters because we don't have haste unfortunately. And then with the floating mana, let's go after a basic. We obviously make great use of that with the Mirari's Wake in play. We get a second Mirari's Wake into play, this time for the Gitrog monster. So our opponent would have had a surplus of mana there, maybe could have left the Rhystic Study in play, but like I said before, I don't trust this player to actually pay into it. The last thing we want is a Grixis control player getting more cards. Throwing down a Scryland. Now the Ozolith into play. Obviously the army tokens do get plus counters on them, so this now a 4/4 from the Ozolith being cast. Toll of the Invasion. Target opponent reveals their hand. A non-land card is discarded. They amass zombies with that as well, so having us get rid of Rays of the Palisade, and that is now an 8/8 with Ward 2. Okay, but not swinging in with the Orc army at least. Not sure why they wouldn't there, to be honest. The rope being activated by the Orzhov player as well, so making its way back round to its original player. Seeing another Aristocrat, this time in Suture Priest. Alright, hoping for a really good draw here, but no, just a Chromatic Lantern. So do we want to go for Temur Charm and get something out of the way from the Orc army? I think he'll be holding up Counter Magic or something, so maybe just aim for Chromatic Lantern and the Boromir here. Oh, and I forgot that costs 1 less to play actually, so let's... I didn't even make white mana there, did I? Oh well, let's just play the Boromir. I've tapped too much mana here, but make a token with our first trigger of the Aragorn. Triggers the Suture Priest for the first time as well. Alright, did we just try and get the counter magic out of our opponent's hand here now that we've got the floating mana? Let's go for, yeah, +1/+1 on the Aragorn, and we'll try and fight the Saruman out of the way. So that's 3 damage to the Grixis player from the Aragorn, because it's a red spell. We'll give the Aragorn +4/+4 on its own ability, and then we'll scry 2 thanks to the blue as well. Alright, and there we get the Mithril Coat out of our opponent's hand. So it's more plus counters on the Orc, and that is now an 11/11. So might give the Thalia player a chance to deal with the Saruman. And with the Scry we'll go bottom with a Forest. Champion of Lambholt will be good later on, but we just need to be refilling our hand at the moment really. So I'll put that on the bottom as well and hope for something better. Alright, so we'll just try not to waste our Aragorn buff here. We'll go for an 11/11 to the right, and I'll hope that they just decide to block with the Spirited Companion. So Ghoulish Procession makes a zombie token with Decayed and triggers the aristocrat creatures as well. Thalia and the Gitrog monster being cast. And now see more from Lord of the Rings, Arwen, Mortal Queen. Underworld Dreams from Saruman now, which probably means that there's some kind of combo for that in the deck. Then the rope being activated, I think he put 2 mana into that, so maybe he's about to draw a card. Yeah, goes up to 4 in hand. Still not swinging in with the 14/14 army. The Aristocrats player playing an Angelic Renewal to try and keep a creature in play. Oh, that's a really good one, Karlov of the Ghost Council. Immediately going to get 4+ counters on it thanks to the Aristocrats. So this will turn into a 6/6 straight away. Alright, just hoping we don't get into a land here, but I bet we will. Yep. So pretty much the only thing we can do this turn cycle is activate the Catilda. Play out the Misty Rainforest as a tap land. We can turn that into a Tricycle land if we still don't need mana. Things coming into play tapped because of the Thalia, of course. The rope being activated first of all by the Abzan player. So we'll at least get a card draw next turn, hopefully. Then Kambal, Console of Allocation, going to keep draining us. And with that entering, it's going to be the 6th counter going on the Karlov, so this will be able to exile something. And after that, it is Vizier of Remedies. 1 or more minus counters will be put on a creature you control. It's that many -1 instead, so that is likely part of a combo, I would have thought. Thalia swings in, sacrifices the Field of Ruin to the commander, and swinging in towards the Elas core. Just decided to take the damage over here. Rampant Growth. The 14/14 finally turning in sideways and going in against Elas core as well. So everyone's looking pretty scared of the Karlov. Mordor Muster after that. Draw a card and lose a life, amass Orcs 1. So that player will get drained for 2 by the Kambal. And Saruman continuing to put a plus counter, or a couple of plus counters, on the army. Damage was taken over here by the way, so Elas core down to 25 life. And we see a sack outlet now in the Carrion Feeder. So gaining a life twice will trigger a couple of counters per trigger on the Karlov. So this is going to go up to a 10/10 and we'll be able to remove something. They'll have to be careful of Ward though, don't forget about that. Then paying 3 mana to put Lurrus into hand. Not swinging in with the Karlov, just going through to the end steps, so we'll activate this Catilda and put a plus counter on all our stuff. Alright, so no land please. Okay, we're getting to an Ancient Tomb. So luckily we have access to the rope. Let's draw a card and give it over to Elas core. Alright, and that is a Shana. So, I mean, that's a slow means a card draw. We still haven't got into any kind of haste, unfortunately, but, I mean, that's pretty much all we've got access to here, so, yeah, might as well go for it. So that makes us a white token from the white mana. +4/+4 onto Aragorn again. We don't have any means of unblockable, unfortunately, even though it is in the deck. And it's Scry 2, so let's sacrifice the Misty Rainforest to get a tap land out before we see what's on top of our library. Saruman holding up priority now, so might be wanting to counter the Shana. Okay, there's a Surat Dragonclaw, which could help. Might have drawn into these legendaries in the wrong order. Polluted Delta we certainly don't want, put that on the bottom. I just want to refill my hand to be honest, so I'm going to get rid of the Surak as well. Lose a life when the token enters, and we'll lose one when Shana enters as well, assuming it does. Alright, it does enter, and is a 4/4 with lifelink straight away, so hopefully we can hit with that next turn. And then Ancient Tomb can go in tapped, because it'll tap for a mana of any colour, so we don't have to put life into it, but it's good to have the option next turn. Maybe drawing into Surak next turn would have been a good idea to guarantee a green spell and buff this, so that it won't be as likely to die. but we'll put plus counters on stuff anyway. And then there's no decent attacks for us, thanks to Indestructible on 2 sides of the field, and then a Death Toucher in the way over there. And I want to leave the Orzhov player alone anyway, because of the Karlov. We don't want him looking at us. Linvala, Keeper of Silence. That means that we're not going to be able to protect our board with Boromir anymore. This includes mana abilities as well, I'm guessing, so we won't be able to tap our dorks down. Thalia swinging in again after that, sacrificing a forest to that to draw a card, and triggers the World Dreams again, turning in sideways towards Elas Core. So again, allowing 5 commander damage through. Not as worried about taking the hit from the Karlov anymore, thanks to it not being able to activate its abilities. And there we see the infamous Siege Rhino. Each opponent loses a life, so draining us all for 3 with that. Then following that up with a Lion Sash. And as soon as, where is it, the Linvala comes into play, that's where we see the Damnation. So that one turn making all the difference here. Couldn't protect our board with the Boromir. The Damnation being cast by the Saruman, by the way. All the plus counters from the Orc army will go on to the Ozolith, and Saruman will be drained for 2. So in response to the Damnation, we see Arwen giving Indestructible over to Thalia and the Gitrog monster. That will get a plus counter and a lifelink counter on it as well. So everything getting blown up, we will put our commander in the command zone and continue in top deck mode. A zombie with Decayed is going to appear over here. Each opponent loses life to the Elas Core, and we'll see if he wants to bring anything back with the Angelic Renewal. Elas Core has stayed in the bin, so we'll assume that he's going to bring that back. The Ozolith ended up with 21 +1/+1 counters on it after the wipe. And then the plus counters going to end up on the Saruman, so yeah, we'll be able to one-shot someone here. And decides on taking out the Abzan player. Lurrus being played from hand now, so can start pulling things out of the bin. And we see Jadar, Caller of Nephalia now. Spirited Companion in order to draw a card. And then it's a couple of 2/2s in towards Saruman. The Decayed Zombie obviously getting sacrificed at the end of combat, but Jadar will make another one. Okay, not a land, please. Alright, so take advantage of the shock land. Oh, it won't come into play tapped anymore, thanks to Thalia going down, but we're going to lose to the commander next turn anyway, I imagine. Try and get down the Aragorn. At the end of our turn, it is a Commence the Endgame. Draw 2 cards and amass X, where X is the number of cards in your hand, so that is 10 counters on an army token, 4 cards in hand, 5 during the draw step. Now Demonic Tutor, and now casting a foray of Orcs, amass Orcs 2, and it deals X damage to a creature an opponent controls. So getting our commander out of the way and definitely going after commander damage on us. So eating 23 points of commander damage, the 18/18 army swings into the right, so throwing the dog in the way of that. And there we are, going down to Saruman, so time to see if the Orzhov player's got anything. Been very unlucky with lands here. It's turn 9 and only 4 lands in play. Might be able to get a combo win out of nowhere though. So Elas turning everything in sideways. The zombies will die at the end of combat. Carrion Feeder played out of the bin by Lurrus. So Saruman going down to 2 life here and just has to sacrifice a few creatures, and Elas Core will deal enough damage to get to him. Sacrificing the Jadar will make a zombie token to the enchantment there. So now it looks like Saruman going for something in response. And that is a press the enemy, returning a target spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to the owner's hand. So yeah, ultimately you sacrifice something in response there. Sacrificing the Lurrus. Could even sacrifice the Carrion Feeder to itself in order to... yep, and they do that. Sacrificing it to itself in order to nearly guarantee that you're going to win here. You and permanents you control gaining hexproof. With the Lazartet plating doesn't help there because the Elas Core doesn't target, so yeah, our opponent ultimately needed to be able to empty the stack of abilities, which I'm not sure how they would do that. So there we are, an unlikely win from the Elas Core after the Grixis player wipes 2 of us out, so that's why you play it out. Only 4 lands by turn 9, like I said, but they managed to get it done anyway, so Big thank you to my opponents for playing it out. Huge thank you to the patrons for their constant support of the channel as well. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.